only 6 adhyayas are remaining. But all those 6 adhyayas are extremely important. Now coming back to your L1, L2 and L3. When you joined your L1, I'm sure many of you would not have imagined that they will go up to this level. They might have joined only just for the purpose of knowing what is Gita. But after studying 12th and 15th, probably they got more interested. And then they studied your 9, 14, 16, 17 adhyay in L2. And in L3, now you have studied 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th adhyay. So as you go deeper and deeper in Gita, your level of knowing about Gita goes on increasing. And that is the beauty of Gita. Gita, once it holds your hand, it will not leave you till. That is the beauty of Gita. Of course, till you yourself discard that and then go your own way. But I'm sure none of you will do that. You will continue to remain in touch with Bhagavad Gita till end. Bhagavad Gita, they say it is a Pakshini Vidya. Pakshini means bird. If you don't remain in touch with Bhagavad Gita repeatedly, it flies like a bird. So I have seen many people who have given exams at Sringeri. They got prize also there. But after coming back, they forgot about reciting Gita on a daily basis or even weekly basis. And slowly they started forgetting about Gita. So now some people meet me and they say, oh, once upon a time I used to recite Gita. I knew this adhyaya, I knew that adhyaya. But what about today? Do you know it today? So Bhagavad Gita is a Vidya in which you have to be in constant touch with. So I'm sure all of you will be in constant touch with Gita day in and day out. You have studied 12 adhyayas now. Make it a habit to study at least, to read loudly, at least one adhyaya every day. When you complete all 18 adhyayas, you will be tempted to read 1 or 2 adhyayas per day initially. When you get confidence, you will start reciting 3 adhyayas per day. People who have completed L4, now when they keep asking, what should we do next? So what we did was, we formed different groups. We formed groups of 6 people in each group. And all 6 people read 3 adhyayas per day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. So all 6 put together, they complete 1 Gita Parayan every day. And that one individual, in 6 days, he completes his own individual Parayan every week. So likewise, several groups have been created now, people who have completed their L4. And this is the way they remain in constant touch with Gita. They read 3 adhyayas of Gita every day. The kind of experiences that they are gaining after starting this Gita Parayan on a daily basis are amazing. They share their experiences, and the kind of mental peace that you get by reciting Gita every day is terrific, is tremendous. It is to be experienced. It cannot be put in words. But the stage comes when, without reciting your Gita Adhyaya, you cannot sleep. You cannot sleep. It becomes as necessary as eating your lunch and breakfast and dinner. So make it a part of your daily life, reading Gita, 1 or 2 Adhyaya, whatever you can do. Now coming back to your L3 level, you have studied your 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th Adhyaya. Reading Gita is okay. Proper pronunciation, which you have been definitely taught by Tanviji, is definitely a very welcome thing. But you need to understand what is the meaning of all that. There are Vivechan Satras conducted by Gita Parivar on a weekend basis. You must be attending all those. But my suggestion, my request to you is, when you attend those Vivechan Satras, your thinking should start. Take any shloka, your thinking should start. You should try to grab all kind of literature available on internet or in books or through Vivechan Satras, and then start forming your own opinion. And that opinion forming comes when you start doing your own Chintan, Manan and Chintan. Learning Gita, this is the best way to do learning by Manan and Chintan. Because the more you do thinking about it, and the thoughts get firmly rooted in your mind, then slowly those thoughts start becoming your nature. You start thinking on those thoughts all the time, and those thoughts, they become your nature. And that nature change in nature bring a drastic change in your personality, your way of thinking, your way of behaving in society, your way of behaving in your own family. People start wondering, this man was so much anxious. He used to be always jealous about people. Now he's so calm and quiet and well composed. He talks so nicely. How that change has come? So Gita can bring all these drastic changes in you. So my suggestion is, when you read any shlokas, any adhyay, take any shloka. I don't say you take all shlokas at a time. Take any shloka, go a little deeper into it, and try to find out what is the meaning between the lines. Like you have studied, say, third adhyay. In third adhyay, there is a shloka. I think 6th shloka. Karmendriyani sanyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharasya uchyate. Now this shloka, this is, I would say, it's a slap on our face by Paramatma. Paramatma is exposing our hypocrisy in this shloka. Paramatma says, Karmendriyani sanyamya. All our indriyas we can forcefully control. Like if now tomorrow or day after, I think tomorrow is Karwa Chauth, people will be doing very strict fasting. But let me not talk about others, let me talk about myself. Suppose I am doing a fasting on Ekadashi day or any other day. And early in the morning, I announce in my family that today is my strict upvas. I will not be eating anything till evening, 7 o'clock. Okay, fine. And then I instruct my wife, in the evening, I will be feeling very, very hungry. So please go to the next corner. And by evening, 6 o'clock, bring half a kg of jalebis and half a dozen of kachori and samosas. Because I will be feeling very hungry at 7 o'clock. I want to eat all kind of food that I like. And throughout the day, I am instructing my wife what should be cooked for the evening dinner. So this is Karmendriyani sanyamya. I have controlled my tongue. I am not eating anything, but mentally, manasa smaran. Mentally, I am eating all the time. Paramatma says this is mithyachar. This is hypocrisy. This is cheating. Mithyacharasa uchyate. This is called mithyachar. This is called cheating. So we need to think, whatever action we do, whatever sadhana we do, are we doing it mentally as well? Or we are doing it mechanically, bodily only? As you must have seen in Bhagavad Gita, karma has been described in 3 ways. Sharira Vangmano Bhiryat. Whatever you do by body, whatever you do by vak, that is your speech, and whatever you do mentally, man. So if you say that, I have only spoken, I have not done anything, but even that is considered as karma. Speaking is considered as karma. You will say, I have not even spoken anything. I am just thinking about it. But thinking is also considered as a karma. So if you are doing fasting and you are thinking about eating, then you are not doing fasting by the definition of Gita. So if we are doing fasting, we have to do it wholeheartedly, mentally, physically, both ways. So this is the message which this simple shloka gives us. Now, how to imbibe, how to bring this in our day-to-day life? So if we understand the meaning of shloka, then we can think of bringing it in our day-to-day life. Next time, sure, when we will be doing fasting, we will remember this shloka, and you will stop thinking mentally. If a thought comes to you that you want to eat something, you will somehow drive away that thought from your mind. Likewise, there are many such shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, but ultimately, whether it is Gita or whether it is Vishnu Sahasranam or any sadhana that you do, always remember the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the last shloka. Ashraddhya udan dattan tapastaptam kritan ched asaduktyachate partha naja tatpretya noyo. Without Shraddha, without deep faith in Paramatma, if you do any dana, yajna, tapa, anything you do, all sattvic karma you do, they are all useless. They don't give you any bit benefit in this life, this loka, or in paraloka also. So Shraddha is a great force. People with Shraddha can do wonders. So whatever sadhana you do, whatever reading you do of Gita or any other book, religious book, you do it with deep Shraddha. Shraddha has a magic power in it. So these are a few things about Bhagavad Gita. Thinking about it, I am not talking about it. Not true. Because when you go to level 4, in second adhyay, there are 2 sloks which show how the downfall of a human being starts with only thinking. The shloka is Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsa Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamak Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammohas Sammohat Smriti Vibrama Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. So the downfall starts with thinking. Dhyayato, dhyay. You are thinking about that object of your indriya, the sense object, vishay, indriya vishay. So thinking starts with that indriya vishay in your mind. Dhyayato vishyan pusa sangasteshu pajayate. It grows into asakti. Your thinking grows into asakti. So dhyayato vishyan pusa sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama. Asakti becomes your kamana, your strong desire. And kamana gives you krodha. If kamana, because all of your kamanas cannot get fulfilled. So what you get is krodha after kamana. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Krodha gives you a kind of illusion. And you start losing your analytical mind. That is the bad effect of krodha. In anger, people commit any kind of crime. And then they repent, of course. But krodha is that bad. So it gives you sammoha, illusion. Krodhat bhavati sammoha smriti vibhrama. Smriti vibhram, you start forgetting what you are supposed to do and what you are not supposed to do. That is smriti vibhrama. And when that starts, smriti nashat buddhi nasho. That is the destruction of your buddhi, your intellect. And when buddhi is gone, pranashyati, you are totally destroyed. So the chain started from dhyayato, and it has taken up to your total destruction. So that's why to say that I'm only thinking about it, I'm not talking about it, is not true. That thinking itself will lead you to destruction. So that is the reason when we think about it, that's why there are many sayings which say that you should speak well. You should speak well, you should think well. Because that is not to be ignored. We cannot ignore our thinking and our speaking. That is very, very important. It builds our nature, it builds our desire, it builds our kamana. So Gita teaches us all this. So in that sense, I would say Gita is a life science. It teaches you how to live the life. And the more deep you go in Gita learning, the more mature person you will become. You'll start learning how to live the life. All these days, we have been living life without thinking all these aspects. But Gita is teaching all these aspects to us. It teaches how we can live our life so that ultimately we reach the stage of Paramgati. Ultimately, every human's objective is to get moksha, so that we get rid of this cycle of birth and death. Birth and death are very painful things, and everyone is aspiring for getting a moksha, to become one with Paramatma at the end of life. Once we get with Paramatma, then we don't have to come back again in this cycle of birth and death. And that is the ultimate objective of every human being. But to achieve that objective, we need to walk on this path, wherein we worship Paramatma, and then we keep doing all karmas as nishkam as possible. Any karma done with kamana is of no use. Any karma done for yourself, for your benefit, does not take you to moksha. But nishkam karma, which you do for others, nishkam karma, which you do for Paramatma himself, that will lead you to moksha. Whatever we do for ourselves does not take you anywhere. It will bring you back to this cycle of life and death. So these are all the messages which we learn from Gita.
You explained the 2 shlokas where you said, it's important to have the right thought process. But, controlling your thoughts and controlling your desires.
Yes.
It is like example, like I'm listening to you, then, message comes and my, attention gets diverted. So, like controlling your thought process and controlling your actions is very, very difficult for a human being, for a normal human being like us. What do we do to control that? Our thoughts as
Right. This same question was asked by Arjuna in 6th chapter. If you see, 6th chapter, Arjuna had asked the same question to Paramatma. Chanchalam hi mana krishna pramati balavadram tasyaha nigraham manne vayor dushkaram. Mind is very chanchal. It cannot concentrate on one thought for more than few seconds. And to drive it and bring it back to that thing is dushkaram, extremely difficult. So Arjuna has surrendered to Paramatma, saying that Chanchala Vimana Krishna Pramati Baladram Tasyaha Nigraham Manne Vayoryasu Dushkaram. So Paramatma has replied, yes. Paramatma says, Asamshaya Mahavaho. Paramatma says, replying to Arjuna, Asamshaya Mahavaho. Doubtless, it is definitely true that man is very chanchal and to concentrate is very difficult. Very difficult. But Paramatma says, Asamshaya Mahabaho Mano Durnigrahen Chalam. Mani Durnigrah. Chalam. Very chal vichal. So Asamshaya Mahabaho Mano Durnigrahi Chalam. Abhyasena tu kaunteya. Abhyas is the only answer. Practice. Abhyasena tu kaunteya. Vairagyana cha grujyate. Abhyas and Vairagya. These are the two routes. These are the two instruments. These are the two sadhanas Paramatma has suggested to bring our mind to some stillness, wherein you can think about one particular thing. Abhyas and Vairagya. Vairagya is not going away from your day-to-day family life, but trying to cut down on your attachments, trying to cut down on your desires. That is Vairagya. So cutting down on your attachments, your desires, and then studying more and more. These are the only two possibilities through which you can achieve that objective of thinking on the right path on a longer term. Otherwise, you get distracted many times because our mind is chanchal. That Paramatma also said, Asamshayam. Paramatma says, yes, it is without doubt that mind is very chanchal. But with these two things, Abhyas and Vairagya, you can bring it to proper stage.